Hi everyone, Sydney here, and in today's short little video, I wanted to talk about some of the technological tools that I use to encourage collaboration and also tools that I use to, in a way, assess my students. The first one that I wanted to talk about was Flip. And Flip is obviously formerly Flipgrid if you weren't sure, but Flip is really great because you can have students respond via text, you can also have them respond via video. In this example that you see here on the screen, I had students in my fourth grade classroom last year create a couplet poem and they recorded themselves and published it. Now, with Flip, if you did or did not know, you can have students respond to other students' videos or like them. And again, that's something that, you don't necessarily have to do, but it is something that you can set your grid to do. I personally like it because not only are they being assessed by me and getting feedback by me, the teacher in this case, but they're also getting, positive feedback or constructive feedback from their peers. And I think that that piece is really powerful and is really something that I'm really focusing on this year as a teacher, is that the power of peer feedback. So I'm looking forward to continuing to use Flip. I think it's very versatile and can be used with a wide range of students. So I'm hoping to incorporate that as I continue my teaching career. Moving on to the next thing is Google Slides. Now, Google Slides, I'll go back up here to the top. Again, just like Flipgrid, I like it because you can manipulate things on it. You can customize it. It's very versatile. And in this case, I've used this Google slide deck to make a student slide deck where I'll, with the intention of uploading this to my Google Classroom, making a copy for each of my students so then they can customize it themselves. So essentially the slide deck is just something that I use as a teacher that corresponds with a shared read. So for this example, in the winter time, I typically read Number of the Stars with my students. Now, as I click through this, I have a plethora of background slides and information for them. Those students that are absent or know that they're going to be missing for a little while can read along with the video here. I have thinking about it questions that, I'll put this up on the board as well and work through with the students. But there are also here areas where students can respond and practice their writing skills. And, this is something that I might come in and assess. There are also comprehension quizzes. So they have a link to a Google Forms here where they can take the quiz and then they'll write their score. So I can go in and see their score here. So again, it seems very long, but in short, with the vocabulary activities, I have some matching activities here. They're really hitting a lot of those preferred ELA standards, those super important fourth grade standards that will be asked on the test. So I've done this for a lot of novels, including this Number of the Stars here. At the end, I have some character development slides. I have some rubrics here. I have some choice boards. So this is really great in that it has a lot of activities for students. It keeps them motivated. But the slide deck itself is also personalized. So because, I have that ability to upload it to Google Classroom, I can go in and check on a specific student at any given time and comment, use the comment button up above to, add a comment to their work. I can check in to see how they're doing and support them in ways that, I may not always be able to do, but because it's all technology based and it's very virtual here, I can leave a comment and I can come back to that later. So it's always kind of saved. That also is the benefit of Google Slides and Google Docs and, that Google realm, is that everything automatically saves. So students won't be deleting things forever. So I can always pull them back to as the teacher. Now I have done this for Number of the Stars, and I have done this for the Westing game, so that's another shared read that we do. But I am working on kind of shifting a lot of my shared reads over to this type of setup rather than having them have a spiral bound book that they're constantly writing in. So I think that, again, Google Slides, like Flipgrid, is very versatile and it can be personalized to my students in any given year. So again, I can, from year to year, cut out some slides that I don't really need, add some slides that I might need. But again, it's a great way to collaborate with my students, and it's also a great way to assess them. So it's just kind of hones in on where those assessments are in the slides. Another tool within this Google realm that I enjoy using is Google Jamboard. Now, I recently got into Google Jamboard because of coronavirus, and then I also did some professional development training with a Better Lessons coach, and they kind of got me hooked on Google Jamboard. And so we did a whole vocabulary activity here. But I've also done Greek and Latin roots with my 4th grade students, and this was a cool one where I shared the Google Jamboard with them, and they had to look up the word, and whatever the word, when they think of the word perimeter, they needed to find an image that correlated with what they thought. So we've done that for a lot of different ones, and for this specific one, we were talking about meter, a metronome, so they had to find a picture of something that made them think of a metronome. So again, it's a great way to add that visualization aspect to something that, you know, is technology based. You know, we're not sitting there necessarily drawing at it or looking at it in a book, but we have the internet at our hands, and we have really cool tech tools in our hands, and it's really great that I get my students to use these in a really responsible and educational way. I do also use Jamboard not only for my my vocabulary activities, but also for my reading block. So in 4th grade, I do book clubs, and this is just an example of that. Now, I you know, sometimes I'll pose them with questions after they read within their groups. Some are certainly better and more productive than others. This was clearly at the beginning of the year, a couple years ago. But as a teacher, you know, I've since then really kind of tried to master the way of the Google Jamboard, and I now have a grid that I place as the background, and students, instead of fighting over where their sticky note goes, I have their names on that. And again, to protect student privacy, I won't show that, but I will tell you that putting a grid on and giving each student a home for their sticky note has been life-saving. But I do like it because there's a lot of open-ended questions here, and you know, they have the freedom to kind of just share what's going on. So I really have enjoyed using Google Jamboard, especially for, you know, being so new to it. I think, again, with that Google, those Google products, it's very versatile. And lastly, I've kind of mentioned it before, I do like to incorporate, obviously, Google Forms. Again, I love that there's a bunch of varied question types here. Now, for this one specifically, what is your name was short answer, but check boxes, drop downs, and I know a lot of you are familiar with that, but we in my 4th grade classroom, we split up math by ability. So we take our entire grade level and split it up into a color group. So I do see all like 60-ish students, and I can view the responses, I can see how they did, and I also can import it into a spreadsheet. Again, because names are linked to this, I am going to avoid clicking on the spreadsheet, but again, I can take that spreadsheet, add it right to my grade book. I can see which students were really struggling, which ones weren't. So again, another great tool, and you know, I can reform my groups that way. Just the assessment is driving my instruction, and I really think that that's going to be what benefits students, is can I differentiate to the best of my ability. So aside from that, I mean, I am also using things like Padlet and Blooket, and I know that a few weeks ago I had talked about Kahoot, but because of our like student or our privacy laws and things like that, I wasn't able to log on to those platforms with my teacher account using a third-party device. So I'd be really interested to see if anybody else has anything to say about those tools, because I highly recommend those as well.